We will. Well, and I'm excited because today is Friday, and those of you that join us on a regular basis, we welcome you back, and we're so glad that you're here. We also want to thank our Fundraising Academy Friday Ask and Answer sponsor. So again, not new to us, but definitely a new placement here as we move forward. So on occasion, you will see that Julia and I will be replaced by Mr. Tony Bell with Fundraising Academy. So a thank you to our presenting sponsors. You see them right in front of you. These organizations exist for you. They are here to pour into you and your communities and help you do more good. So please do check them out. I think we all have an obligation to spread more love and cheer and goodness in our world. And these companies are helping you do that. So please do find them online and let them know that you saw them here at the Nonprofit Show. And another person you're going to see here, of course, is Julia Patrick, CEO of the American Nonprofit Academy. And I am Jarrett Ransom, also known as the Nonprofit Nerd, the one and only Nonprofit Nerd. Really excited to be back here. So I am ready for today's questions. I'm sure that we've got some doozies, but as you all know, Friday is our Ask and Answered, and there are several ways in which you can send us your questions. We actually will allow, if time allows, I should say, any live questions that might come up. So there is a Q&A for those of you that have joined us for today's show. If we can't answer it during today's show, we will make sure that we include it in a future episode. So enough from me. Let's get us going.
You ready, sister?
I'm ready.
Okay. This comes to us from Shannon, the Hudson, probably Hudson Valley, New York. We have a tourist-based economy and are wondering if we can connect our visitors to our nonprofit donor base. This is an interesting question. Is this even a good idea? We have a lot of historic and I think historic buildings, and I think visitors coming here would appreciate this. Wouldn't they become donors? So we see this question every once in a while for anyone that's involved in tourism. This is a big issue. Do you share your databases? Do you think that tourists are going to be turned off by engaging or being asked to engage for, like, say, the local art museum or animal shelter or, human services campus, whatever? It's a very, very interesting kind of conundrum that I think a lot of nonprofits share with tourist-based communities.
Yeah, and I would be curious to learn more. I was just in Park City, Utah. And for those of you that might also listen to the Chitty Chat chat, I'm starting to plant even more roots in that community. But I was at their 4th of July, little festival out in the park. It was beautiful. And the Chamber of Commerce was there. And they had volunteers walking around with clipboards, asking individuals to, fill out a questionnaire. And I thought that was really interesting. So of course, me as the nonprofit nerd, right? I could read between the lines. I knew exactly what they were doing. And I was applauding them. I was kudos, good for you, right? Because this is a community, no matter where you are and where you live, that people are attracted to. So if you are a tourist destination and you have a high tourism economy, I think it is a great opportunity to offer a way of engagement, right? But again, I wasn't really strong-armed into anything. It was just a questionnaire. So for me, I appreciated it. I enjoyed it. I also wanted to know what questions they were asking, right? And so I was analyzing from the beginning, but I do like when there's an opportunity that says, the support of our community and our visitors help to continue the great work and, stories that we're able to tell, especially when it comes to something like a historical space or a museum or some type of arts and culture. I think that's really important. But what have you seen, Julia? Anything?
My sense of it is that if you are a tourism-based economy that also is trying to garner second or third home ownership populations, then that's going to be something where those populations will be more apt to invest.
Yes.
I would say this is a great argument for that digital database issue. I mean, yeah, do you want to invest in snail mail and trying to get to all these people around the country or possibly the world? Yeah, probably not. But a digital database that identifies this person or these people as visitors, I think there could be something to be said for that. And I also think that if you are a nonprofit that's doing like a community event, let's say you're a human services organization, but you put on a big, say, weekend arts and crafts festival, or you put on an event, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To benefit your organization. I think that's where tourism can fit. But it's a deeper strategy that goes forward with other members of your community. So Shannon, you need to be talking to, like Jarrett said, the city manager, the Chamber of Commerce, figure out
CVB, Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Yeah, CVB. I mean, how do you leverage your nonprofit work with somebody else in the community? So good question. Good way to get started.
Great question. And
Okay.
I'm always a huge proponent to say, reach out to another community. What are they seeing? What are they doing? Where have they had success? Because I believe in collaboration. I think that there is a way for us to learn and share our insight with one another. So, if you know someone in another community that might have a similar, environment, I think it's worth a conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a way of diversifying your risk as well. Okay,
Yeah.
this comes, pardon me?
I was going to say revenue, but yes, I agree.
What word did I say?
Did you say risk?
Yeah, risk. I meant risk.
And yeah. I said revenue. Yeah. Diversify your revenue, diversify your risk. Both of those are words.
Two different things.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Emma from Portland, Oregon writes, this is like a whole week of answers we could give her. We're thinking about developing a legacy gift process for our nonprofit. We've never even had a bequest given. Given all the information on the transference of wealth, we need to do this. Where should we even begin?
With your board.
Okay.
I think, yeah. So Emma, great question. I love that you're seeing this as an opportunity. There is this huge transference of wealth. In fact, Julie and I have before called it this tsunami of wealth transference because it is really coming in a huge wave. So I think there's a couple of things to do here. But first of all, if you have a fundraising or development committee, bring this up to that committee and then also bring it up to the board. I always think a great place to start is with your board members, is to ask them to, go ahead and create a bequest, a living trust, or a will where they're leaving this organization in that document. Couple of things, one, it allows them to really go deeper with their involvement, but secondarily, Emma, you're able to go through the trials and the errors and the questions with your board and together before you take it out to your whole constituency base.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that is, first of all, that's the appropriate thing to do. I love that you look at it as a test. I know. The other thing is you really need to get some sort of legal and financial input on this, because there are certain documents that you want to provide to your donors so that it goes into your estate. This transference of wealth that some estimate anything between like 55 trillion with a T to 90. We are in it. It's going to last for about another 25 years. So the amount of wealth that is being transferred to these next generations, it's never been anything like it in the history of our country. So what we're going to see is a lot of surprised family members. We're going to see a lot of estates in chaos because the heirs might not agree with what these bequest decisions were made, were deemed appropriate and to funnel. And so you really are going to be smart if you have a program. And if you have a program, here's the little secret. It gets you out of a lot of this emotional aspect, because it's very easy to say, well, that's our process. And this is what we do. And this is how we manage it. And then it puts your organization on a better trajectory for more significant gifts. Is it a guarantee? No, there are costs involved, but you need to be strategic about it. And now is the time.
You know who I just thought of very fondly is our guest many episodes ago, Emma. So I would go back and search for Kyle Daniels. I don't believe he's with that museum. Currently, he's
Chicago.
He's in Chicago. He was a planned giving officer. He had so much passion for planned giving, and he was really just, I don't know, for me, I really just enjoyed. I thought he was a dynamo. So we have done a full episode on planned giving, and that might be something that you want to go into our archives. For those of you that may not be familiar, 350 plus archives. So we've been doing this since March of last year. And so there is one specific on planned giving.
Yeah, he was fabulous, and he was with the Field Museum of Chicago.
Yes, that's
and
right.
So, yeah, amazing. Okay, let's get to Noah coming to us from Tahoe, Nevada. Wow. Okay. We are thinking about having a community contest to create a new logo for our nonprofit. However, what if we don't get submissions? Or what do we do if we get submissions that nobody likes? It seems a bit risky to take this on.
Oh, I think it's fun. I love this. And in fact, here in our community, Julia, our buses, our public transportation had something similar where they did a call for submissions. And there was a student, a college student that submitted and won. And so, they did like it. And they wrapped the entire public, transit kind of system here. But Noah, I think this is a great opportunity to think beyond the box. You are doing a bit of an assessment of what are others perceiving about you as an organization. So I think that's really going to tell you and elicit a lot of information. If you receive something that nobody likes, I think you can still find elements that you do like: colors, graphics, emotions, right? Like all of this comes out through logos or art design. So I would be inclined to say that you might not love everything about one particular submission, but I do think you'll walk away loving the process and getting your community involved, and therefore moving and maybe even taking some edits and tweaks from one that really, checked most of the boxes, and then see what you could do with that individual or with someone else to take it to the next level.
Yeah. And, I love what you said about community engagement. I think that's brilliant. I also think that you could, if you're really that fearful, why not do this and attach it to a campaign? So as opposed to the rebranding of your whole organization, something of that nature, maybe tagging it to a specific effort. It could be an event. It could be a campaign. It could be, a portion of your campus. I mean, do you see what I'm saying? I mean, it could have some connectivity to what's going on, but not overtake the whole organization.
Yeah.
I really hope you let us know how this turns out.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting because I really do think, Noah, that you will start to see how many community individuals perceive your organization, and that will show up. And I think that's going to be a really fun journey.
Yeah, I think it's cool. I think it's really cool. Literally cool, because can you imagine how beautiful Tahoe is right now?
Right?
Hello.
I've never been. I need a reason to get there, Noah. Hint, hint.
Hint, hint. We might have to come and personally deliver this answer to you.
Right, right. Or I'd love to be on the review committee or something, but yes, that sounds good.
I love it. Okay, Jerry from Carmel, California. Is it appropriate to have our annual report in a PDF and not printed? We have some team members who say this is illegal.
I want you to go first, Julia.
Okay, so this really depends Jerry, on your state laws, it also depends on your bylaws and what you've structured. If you have structured a reporting mechanism, if I'm not mistaken, in most states, it is a requirement that if in theory, somebody walks into your reception area, they can ask to see the annual report and that it has to be surrendered. So I would say that you could do kind of a hybrid. Most definitely, it needs to be in PDF format so that it's convertible. It should be on your website. It's going to be asked for grant applications. Board members or board prospects are going to want to be able to see this. It needs to be good to go in PDF format. It's also becomes locked down. It's more secure. But the reality is, in the olden days, we used to print all these up and it would take all this time and money. And then we would snail mail them out to everybody. And we would use those as a brochure. I still think you can use your annual report as a brochure, but there's print on demand. You can have a smaller internal printing where it's put into like a binder situation and used internally and not really distributed, except if there's a call for it. But yeah, you should always have, I believe, and I'm older than Jarrett by just a few years. I always believe there should be a hard copy of this. And okay, what say you?
So Jerry, I've seen some really beautiful reports, but I have been referring to them as impact reports, not annual reports. So I think we're starting to see a shift in language, right? And so an impact report for me is a down and dirty 2-page kind of infographic document, 8.5 by 11. I use it multiple ways, which, again, hopefully Julia endorses that because, she would never buy ground beef and not have at least 3 meals that week to use that ground beef on. So it's really about that repurpose and that reuse. So a couple of things here, right? You could take your annual report and you could have multiple pages, right? A lot of people still print or still categorize their donor levels to say, individuals in this giving circle, and they literally print the names. There's some pros and cons to that I'll just spare us all a lot of time right now and not go into that. Maybe it can go into another episode. But I do think that when you can drill down a multiple page annual report into a 2-page kind of impact report, it is short and sweet. Like Julia said, you put it on your website, you send it out in an email communication. Trick of the trade, I print them out with a letter from the CEO and I send those to top donors. So anyone that is a major gift donor receives that impact report in the mail in a large, like 8.5 by 11, either white or manila kind of envelope with a personal letter, well, a form letter, but then a personal note. That is by no way, shape, or form a fundraising initiative or activity. But money typically does come in after that because the whole thing with fundraising is you want to ask, you want to thank, you want to report, and you want to repeat. And so when you are providing this impact report and a letter and a personal note, typically that is a motivation for this major donor or someone of a capacity level to make an additional gift. That's how I use it. I also use elements of the impact report in a social media campaign. So there's so many ways to, slice and dice and all these great things of the impact report. I would have a couple on hand. I would have a couple printed at the front desk, and maybe some of your meeting rooms. But then I would also make sure that it's very, accessible electronically.
Yeah, and I love what you had to say. I love using the word impact. I think that's super powerful. And I agree with you. This is, at the heart of it, an annual report is really a brochure.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, like the 990, the great Brenda Blunt, CPA from Bailey says, look at the 990 as a marketing tool. So that if somebody goes to look at you, they're going to get information that makes them want to engage with you, right? So I think that this is a really interesting thing. It's not just, Jerry, an issue of being legal or not legal. I mean, there is that piece of it, But the reality is, think beyond that and think of it as a tool for being able to generate excitement from the people that you're going to be working with. You know, very interesting. Jarrett, you are amazing. I loved your answer.
Well, thanks.
Yeah. I mean, I pretty much always like your answers, I gotta say.
Well, one of our favorite guests, he did make a comment and he says, "I love the way Julia agrees wholeheartedly with what Jarrett says." So thank you. Sometimes we don't always agree.
No, we don't always, but that's
I'm always right.
Yeah, that's true. I'm always right in that we don't agree.
Okay, Olivia, here we go. I'm going to ask the question this time.
You ask the question, sister.
Is there a standard process for honoring board members who go off the board? We have done some very nice plaques for some board members and nothing for others. I am the new board liaison. Congratulations.
Yeah,
and
yay
you
team.
can help standardizing this. Also, kudos to you, Olivia. Okay, this is one of your favorite things, Julia, board liaison. I think that's one of your favorite topics. So I'm going to let you start.
Well, yay team, Olivia, I have a special place in my heart for board liaisons. They are the glue that keep boards and organizations together. And so, yay team, you are absolutely right. Standardize this. I would also encourage you to look into adding an emeritus board if you don't already have that, because that's another way of, you know, thanking and honoring and retaining that relationship and keeping that champion close to the fold. But yeah, I would definitely make sure that you are doing the same thing, because that's just bad form, you know.
Yes, and when I read this question, Olivia, I'm reading between the lines. Is there a process for members who go off the board? Are they terming off the board? Were they asked to leave the board? Have they left under duress? Like, I think there needs to be a much broader and deeper conversation about if this, then that, if this, then that. And I would standardize that for any and almost all scenarios. I do think there needs to be a line item in your budget, right? And to Julia's point, and I know that she would clarify this as well, the emeritus board is not where all board members go, right? No. It is really for those select board members that have been voted on by the board. And we have a episode focused strictly on emeritus board, in fact, led by none other than Julia Patrick. So this is, you know, one of her other focuses. So I would, Olivia, really look at, I'm huge on benchmarking. What are other organizations doing, right? How have they standardized this? Because the last thing you want is for a board member to serve any term and them not receive the appreciation and the recognition, unlike another, you know, or our board member within the organization. Yeah. Sorry about that. So we really don't want to have that favoritism. We do want to have an equitable practice, and that will come from standardizing if this, then that, if this, then that, for any and all scenarios.
I agree. And I think the other thing too is that, you know, when somebody that has been on your board and they have championed your organization, you don't want to lose that. And even if it's been something that's been maybe less than successful, it might be okay to still try and do something of an outreach where you offboard them in a way that doesn't damage the relationship. Because again, you don't want somebody going out and saying things that are unflattering about your organization. You want to be able to, you know, cultivate some good feelings. So, wow. Okay, Olivia, yay team.
Yeah. And congratulations on being named the new board liaison. That's phenomenal for you, for the organization, for the board. And I love that you're looking into standardizing, because that is a very important process.
It's true. It's really true. Hey, lots of great questions this week. I love that we have such an array of questions that it seems like every week we get new things that are just like, yeah, wow, okay. Yeah. So keep them coming. You can tweet us a question, email, go on directly onto the website.
Carrier pigeon.
Carrier pigeon. Hey, I was at an event not too long ago and somebody said, Julia, will you ask this question on air? Take my name off.
Oh, yes.
Name
I
with
want to be a name withheld. I'm sure that's what
Yeah,
was.
it was. I was like, okay, no problem. So anyway, yeah, let us know what we can do to help you. We really want to express some gratitude to Fundraising Academy, who stepped up to be the premier sponsor of our Fridays Ask and Answer. It's a lot of fun. It's a great relationship, and so we want to thank them for coming on board. Again, I'm Julia Patrick, CEO of the American Nonprofit Academy. I've been joined today by the nonprofit nerd herself, the one and only Jarrett Ransom, CEO of the Raven Group. Again, we mentioned where you can get a hold of us. We are now coming up on 2,000 Twitter followers. I do not get involved in that. That is our executive director, Kevin Pace. And so I want to give a shout out to him because he's really the one that has stewarded this. And it's been a lot of fun to see that grow. So thank you very much. Again, thank you to our presenting sponsors. Next month, you're going to get to see some new sponsor logos coming on board. We're very, very excited about that. And so next month starts next week. So we'll be talking about that. And we hope
want to
that
see your logo up there. Get in touch with us. We'd love to talk to you about partnerships. Thanks for joining us. We know that we're going a little over our time. We got a little verbose, but we have immense gratitude to each and every one of you who show up for our episodes, either live or recording. And of course, to all of our amazing presenting sponsors that allow us to continue these episodes and bring in some really national voices to talk about everything relevant in the nonprofit sector. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Rest, recharge, come back, join us on Monday. We have another week of really robust conversation. So make sure that you do come back and join us on Monday, but get some rest in.
Absolutely. And as we like to end every show, we want to remind you to stay well so you can do well. Have a great weekend. We'll see you back here on Monday.